Hello to all our 1000 PS friends. This is the Punisher speaking. The KTM 990 Duke now has an R sibling. I had the chance to test a prototype, so if you're interested, stay tuned. It's not entirely surprising that KTM, after launching the 990 Duke last year, has announced an R version for 2025. Some say that the standard 990 Duke could have been a bit more aggressive. Well, I'll tell you if that's the case and what new features it has. Let's start with the design. From the front, it's almost identical to its sibling. However, it comes in the classic R colors with white accents and the signature orange frame. It still retains the tubular frame at the front, while at the back, it now has a lighter subframe, also in orange. Personally, I think it's radical and certainly doesn't look bad at all. On the side of the tank, there's a small R logo similar to that of the Super Duke. It also comes with a single seat configuration, meaning a cover over the rear seat. I'm still not sure if this will be standard or part of the optional accessories. The seat itself already gives it a sportier touch, with mark stitching and a two-piece design. Here, I'll move into ergonomics. The seat position is higher. The entire bike sits higher, with a seat height of 840 millimeters and ground clearance of 210 millimeters, 15 millimeters more than the standard Duke. According to KTM engineers, this allows for greater lean angles, specifically 3 degrees more on each side. At the heart of the bike is the 990 engine, although it's actually 947 cubic centimeters, with a power output of 130 horsepower, 7 horsepower more than the previous version. They managed to extract this additional horsepower, which reaches its maximum at 9,500 RPM. The rev limit now goes up to 10,500. The torque remains at 103 Newton meters, and of course it complies with the Euro 5 plus emission standard. The whole package weighs a bit less overall, with KTM stating it's 2 kilograms lighter. We measured the 990 Duke at 191.5 kilograms on our scale, so the R version would come in around 189.5 kilograms. It's trimmed down a bit, though the previous 990 Duke R weighed 185.5 kilograms. We're not quite there yet, but KTM still claims it's super agile and sporty. Now let's talk about the engine tuning and riding modes, because there's some news here. The bike includes rain, street and sport modes as standard, and now there's a custom mode that you can configure yourself. If you order the track pack, you also get track mode, which displays the lean angle on the screen, along with 2 extra custom modes. All this is shown on a brand new digital display. As I mentioned earlier, I tested a prototype of this bike and the screen is massive. Like having 2 smartphones side by side. KTM says it's 8.8 inches diagonally and it's split so you can show something different on the left and right sides, like map navigation. Thanks to the new processor and computer behind the display, it's a big step forward and it doesn't look overloaded on a naked bike. At first I thought 8.8 inches would be huge, but for those into aesthetics, it's exactly the width of the fork. So it blends in nicely and allows for an impressive display, much better than what we're used to. As I mentioned, there's more than just updates to the riding modes. There are new ABS modes too. Besides standard and supermoto modes, there's now IBS Sport, which allows a later intervention. Then there's Supermoto Plus, though KTM hasn't yet explained exactly what that does, but it'll certainly be fun on a track or even on the road when traffic is light. We'll see. One thing I found a bit off in the electronics was the quick shifter on the prototype. It worked perfectly, super smooth with just the right feel, no need for extra effort, and a nice click as the gear shifts in. But I was surprised to see it's an add-on even in the R model. And the biggest difference in the electronics is definitely in the suspension. For the first time, they've added a linkage system in the shock, similar to what we see on the Super Duke. This means it's no longer directly mounted, but goes through a linkage, which takes away 10 millimeters of rear travel. The WP Apex suspension is fully adjustable front and rear, and the forks are now 48 millimeters in diameter, 34% stiffer than on the 990 Duke. Plus it has 3 millimeters more travel, giving 143 millimeters. On my test ride, I could feel every groove in the road. perfect for track days. It's a big improvement over the 990, and I think the linkage system really plays a part in that. The biggest issue with the 990 Duke was the brake, which didn't quite match the bike's sporty character. But for the R version, they added the Brembo Stylema system, top tier brakes with 320mm discs. This makes a huge difference in performance during testing. They've fitted it with Michelin Power Cup 2 tires, the same as on the 990 Duke R, which are excellent in dry conditions, though you need to be careful in the wet. These tires are pure racing with no silica, which gives them that pure race touch. And with the extra power on this bike, you have to have some self-control. Still, they're ideal for this bike. The wheels are also from the Super Duke R in the same bright orange as the frame, giving this 990 Duke R a spectacular look. Overall, it's a very well-rounded package. The name Punisher may seem a bit exaggerated, but hey, leave me a comment on what you think of the name, the bike, and the changes from the standard model. I've given you my first impressions, but there will be a more in-depth test on our channel, and I can say that many of the things I didn't like about the 990 Duke are now resolved in this R version. Oh, and as for the price, I still don't know it. They'll keep us waiting a bit longer. The KTM 990 Duke R will be available at the start of 2025. I think it's a really interesting bike, especially with its 130 horsepower, moving even further away from the mid-range category. Triumph also has its more powerful RS model. Yamaha has its SP version, and it sounds like Kawasaki is working on something similar for the Z900. Honda introduced an SP version of the CB1000 Hornet, so 2025 looks like a great year for naked bikes. Thanks for watching the video. If you liked it, give it a thumbs up. Tell me what you think of the KTM 990 Duke R, and subscribe to stay updated. See you, ciao.